Hi everyone, I'm Julia Schaefer and welcome to Farewell My Manicure TV. On this week's episode, I do a DIY project for my kitchen. I also look at growing one of the members of the brassic family when we get down and dirty in the garden. And right now, I want to talk to you about a very important topic, the topic of recycling. Let's get started, shall we? We're lucky enough in Australia that 93% of us have access to some sort of recycling facility, whether it be curbside recycling or recycling receptacles somewhere that you can access. Despite that, we send enough steel to landfill each year to make 40,000 fridges. Can you fathom that? 40,000 fridges. We only recycle 33.3% of our steel cans. And these are the ones that you use, that you have your cans of tomato, your cans of creamy carnation milk, etc. Only 33.3% of these are actually sent to recycling. Why is that? It's not that hard. And only 67.3% of our aluminium cans are recycled. And yet, can you think how many of those? I know my husband drinks beer. There's a lot of those that we put in recycling, but only 67% of them go to recycling. You know, the energy saved from recycling one aluminium can power your television for 3 hours? Armed with figures like that, surely it's not too hard to make a bit of effort to recycle your aluminium and your steel cans. Here's what we do at our place. Underneath the kitchen sink is our normal rubbish, over here. And right next to it, I actually recycled another plastic container. I went on the SITA website, S-I-T-A, and downloaded a printable that told me what could and couldn't go in my recycling bin. And I printed it and I stuck it on the front. So nobody in this household doesn't know what goes in a recycling bin. So I'll give you the link to that actually down here after you've watched the video so that you can go on and print yours up as well. So aluminium cans, steel cans, rigid plastic bottles, cardboard, clean paper, all recyclables, glass bottles go into that receptacle right next door to the waste bin. And once a week we trot them out to the front to be collected by the City Council. It's not that hard. Please have a go at doing it. And for more tips on recycling, please come along and follow me on my website, www.farewellmymanicure.com. Here I am in the shed and it's time to do some projects, and I really want to teach some women out there how to use power tools, because I recognise, growing up with a father that was more of an educated man, not a down and dirty in the shed type man, that some girls are brought up not knowing how to use power tools. And it's unfortunate because there's so many things that you can do and create when you know how to use these tools properly. The important thing is though to remember to put on your proper protective gear so that you don't hurt yourself. Power tools aren't difficult, and there's this real misconception that they're for big burly blokes that have big muscles that can control them, but actually power tools are created to make your job easy. So if you know how to use them, you use them properly, and you put on your protective gear, then you're not in any danger at all. So one by one, I'm going to take you through some of the power tools that I think you as an individual probably need in your toolkit if you want to do a few things around the home or create some amazing things for your home. So we're going to start with the jigsaw, because it's one of my favourites. Now, of course, before we get started on anything in the shed, we need to make sure that we have our proper protective gear on. So several things that I would do firstly. Number one is to put my hair up, because we don't want any loose hair around any sort of machinery that could get caught and end up scalping you. And heavens, no one wants that. Okay, and the next thing, depending on what tool you are using, you will probably need some ear protection, And you would probably need some goggles, particularly if you're using the jigsaw. And even though they have a bag to catch the sawdust or a pipe that blows the sawdust away from you, inevitably a breeze could come through the door and you end up with sawdust in your eyes. So please purchase, these are so cheap to purchase at your hardware store, purchase some eye protection. There's all different types. These are actually quite small, but you can get bigger ones that really cover your eyes very well. Make sure you've got your eye protection. Now, as usual, I've got my work boots on. Never be without them. Very good. They're only about $30 to $40 in Big W, I think. Probably a barter pair. Really good because you don't want to, if you drop something on your toes, you don't want to smash your toes. And they have steel caps in them, so they're really handy. And keep your ankles stable if you're walking around the property too. So I use them every weekend while I'm working on the property. You know, power tools are here because they make our lives easier. So don't be frightened of using a power tool because they are quite easy to use. The motor inside might scare some people, but the motor's there to make the job easier. And also the thing that you need to keep in mind is that using the right blade for the piece of material that you're trying to cut. That will make it way easier, like a knife through butter if you've got the right blade. So you might not have considered this, but there are different types of blades for jigsaws for different types of uses. There are metal blades, there are timber blades, and you need to choose the right one. Make sure that you've got that one on hand. Make sure you've got a selection on hand so that you're ready to go when you have a project at hand. So here's my handy dandy jigsaw. It's a Ryobi. And the cool thing about this particular piece of equipment is it has this dust port and an inbuilt blower, so it blows the dust away from you and away from your project, because it's really hard to follow a straight line when it's building up with little bits of sawdust. So it blows that away for you, which is awesome. It also has this protection piece here that has a sight guide on it, so you can line that up with your line that you've drawn on your article that you're trying to cut and keep it straight. All you need to do then is keep it following your line. The power tool will do the work for you. It should do it like a knife through butter if you've got the right blade on and you're anchoring it well and anchored your piece of material to your bench top with some really good clamps. We'll talk about clamps soon. So this is a really good piece of equipment. It was probably a low to mid-range in price, and it'll last and last, and I'm really happy to use it. So I'm going to get my act together and show you how to cut a piece of melamine now. So I've decided that my tea and coffee shelf needs to have an extra shelf to stack my teacups on. So I've gone down to the hardware store and bought a piece of melamine, which is available in all sorts of different sizes and widths. And you know what? If you go to Bunnings, you can actually get your first cut done for free. But for the benefit of this, I'm going to show you how to cut using the jigsaw. The cool thing about buying a piece of melamine is that it's finished on one edge. So apart from up and down, it's finished on one edge. So it gives you that nice finished look in your cupboard, and you don't have any raw edges. So I've gone ahead and measured 46.5 centimeters, which is the width of my shelf, or the length of my shelf, and I've drawn a big black line so that I can follow it with the jigsaw. The other thing I want to tell you about is the clamps. Important to clamp things to your bench really securely so that they don't jiggle around when you're using a power tool. Now these are the old-fashioned clamps, which required you to twist, twist, twist to get it tight, and we've got these new ones which are really awesome. They're a ratchet fitting, so they just use your hand to move the fitting up to clamp your piece of material. Press the button to release. Very simple. I love these ones. So you should get some of these for your toolkit as well if you haven't already. So I've got on my proper protective gear. I've got my melamine attached to the bench really securely with the clamp, so let's get started. Easy that was. So my shelf's ready to go. I'm a bit excited. So now all I have to do is go up to the kitchen and put these little lugs into the holes that are already pre-drilled so that you can adjust your shelves. And I've got an extra storage for my teacups and coffee mugs, which is fantastic. And I didn't have to ask anyone to help me on that. I just did it myself. So I encourage you to get out there and give it a go. get yourself some power tools, and I'll teach you a little bit more every week about different power tools that I use in my shed. So there you have it, my new shelf is in place. So now I have a space for all those short coffee cups and for the big mugs and travel cups as well as my extra tea bags, etc. So I'm really proud of myself. I hope that you inspired to get out there and put a shelf up in your kitchen as well. Hey, isn't it weird how some words you just really love saying because of the way they come out, the way they feel in your mouth? Like for me it's chimichanga. I love chimichanga. If you don't know what that is, it's some spicy meat deliciousness all wrapped up in a tortilla. It's a Mexican dish. The other thing I really love to say is brassica, especially if you roll your R's because it sounds so much more, I don't know, cultural. Anyway, what are brassicas? Well, I'm glad you asked. Brassicas are broccoli, Brussels sprouts, kohlrabi, kale, cabbage, most of the vegetables that you as a child probably tried to feed your dog sneakily under the table, but they're actually some of the most nutritious and they have the biggest health benefits out of all the vegetable family. They contain sulfur-containing phytochemicals which are known to ward off some types of cancers, so they're really, really good for you. Now I've got some brassicas behind me, some broccoli which I'm growing, and I want to tell you a little bit about it. In warmer climates, you sow it around February, March. I did mine a little bit late in the season, but as you can see, they're still producing beautiful broccoli flowerets. Now, normally you would cut off the big one and you'd think, well, that's it. That's the end of my broccoli plant, but not so. Actually, when you cut off that centerpiece, all the little stems produce more broccoli flowerets. These ones are starting to go to seed, but I can still eat them. They're still yummy to eat. In fact, all of this plant is really easy to eat and really good for you. So you can juice up the leaves in your smoothies, you can eat steam or microwave the florets, and you can slice up the stems. They're really good as well. Cook them in some butter or, steam them, eat them fresh, whatever. All of the broccoli plant is really good to eat, particularly if you're growing it yourself because it's so much more tender and so much more fresh. So I'm going to make a lovely dish of chicken and broccoli tonight for my friends, and I might put the recipe in a link below. That sounds like a great idea. Anyway, have a go at growing broccoli. You can do this just in a pot. Have a go at it. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share, and join us on the website www.farewellmymanicure.com. See you next time.